G'day and welcome to New England Today. My name is Richard Monk and I'm just back from visiting Liz Foster and her son Ben at the farm, about 20 minutes out of Armidale. Now, if you're not sure who Liz is, Liz runs I'll have to read this because it's changed its name a few times. It's called the Fleece to Fashion Awards. It used to be known as the Australian Wool Fashion Awards. It's had a few other names, but basically the awards around wool and fashion. It's extraordinary. It's bringing people in from all around the world and sending our people all around the world. It is a world event and it's happening later this year in November in Armidale. An extraordinary thing and great for fashion designers, great for the wool industry and great for the New England. It puts our name on the map. But I won't talk any more about this. Liz is the expert, so meet Liz Foster. Liz Foster, welcome to New England Today.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
I know this is the Australian Wool Fashion Awards, but it's got a few other names.
It's had a name change just a few years back and we're now Fleece to Fashion. We were Wearable Wool Awards, part of Wool Expo, then we were Australian Wool Fashion Awards, and here we are, Fleece to Fashion, which tells the whole story.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Yep.
Some facts about wool, I guess, before we go into the fashion part of it. Like Australia is 50% of the world's wool.
Yes.
That's being used for everything from, fashion through to carpets. Really.
Absolutely, yes.
So it's obviously, it's a huge market. Do you think it's a market in the fashion area that has got a long future?
It does, but it needs change almost. I guess it's viewed as an elitist fibre. So the garments made out of the beautiful, beautiful superfine wool command that price. They're beautiful, they last you a lifetime, and I guess it's education for people who actually purchase those garments is that if you can fit into it, it'll probably last you for 30 years. Whereas if you buy a cheaper version at a cheap shop, it'll probably last you 1 year because it'll fall to pieces or peel or felt if you haven't washed it correctly, all of those things. So certainly the superfine market is lovely, and I guess we're going down a more casual look in fashion as well, so it's not so much the suits today, it's more the casual look, the jumpers, the cardigans, the coats, the almost the casual pants for women and men.
It is interesting though, because we're kind of living in a world of fast fashion, and I guess that's been driven by the Chinese and the manufacturers of those man-made or at least cotton products. That had to be some sort of threat, but there seems to be a scream to stop fast fashion. So does that mean something positive for the wool?
Well, it does, but I think it's probably still that cost factor in fashion that some people just can't afford to buy the more expensive, better quality, so they go for the cheaper one. And also the young ones today, they buy it today because it's the in colour's pink and next year it's purple or whatever, and they want to be with it so it's fast out the door. It didn't cost them a fortune, and Vinnies end up with a lot of garments.
Yeah. So, but there could be. You never know. You never know with fashion anyway.
You don't know. That's right. It could do a complete and utter swing, and the young business people who do have the money will always look down that track to buy the better to look right for their job.
Yep. True. But it's beyond fashion too, though, because, we're talking about textiles, carpets, all sorts of things that are being made from that as well. But surely that's also been impacted by other fibres, by manufactured fibres.
Well, it has, but no house should ever have anything but a woolen carpet because it doesn't burn. So if your house catches on fire, it could be a deterrent. It probably won't because of everything else around it, but the nylon carpets, etc., the static electricity, the burn factor, really it's a no-brainer almost to have a woolen carpet in your home.
Can we talk about you a little bit? You've been with the, what do we call them now? The Fleece to Fashion Awards, the awards, for how long?
41 years or something, yes. Yeah.
41 years. It's your passion, but it's also your baby. It came out of what? How?
It is. I didn't actually start it. I came in quite early afterwards when a friend had, asked me if I would consider her making something for the awards. So I bought the woolen fabric. She made the award, the garment. So from then on, it was like, wow, this could be something quite good. Then disaster struck just a few years later, and one of the ladies running it, a short few years later, was actually killed in a train accident. And her friend, they were working it together, just said, I can't do it without my friend, which I completely and utterly understand, and came and asked me if I would take over what was basically a basic secretarial job. I was in it for about 5 minutes when I realised there was nothing basic about it at all, or it could be something much, much bigger. And that's how I became involved.
Since then, that obviously your role has changed considerably to the point now where you've kind of stepped back.
I've stepped back, yes. After all this time, the date of birth was getting to me, and we did advertise for an event manager, and we have this awesome lady, Sarah Mason, applied for the job, and she has been doing it for this. We're into our second year with her. She's awesome, and I feel very hopeful that she'll stay for the next few years, so I don't have to step back in at all, because I don't want it to die. Yeah. When it's your passion, you want it to continue, but you do need somebody to run it properly, and it is getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Oh, it is?
It is enormously bigger.
What's the drive behind that? Why is it getting bigger?
For quite a few years I used to visit schools and tertiary colleges to speak to them about entering the Wool Awards, which gathered quite a bit of momentum. But in more recent years, the fashion colleges have come in a big way, and thanks to AWET, which is the Australian Wool Education Trust, they meet once a year, and all the heads of all the fashion colleges in Australia attend, either via Zoom or in person. And it's been running for probably 12 or 15 years. And AWI have come into that in a much bigger Wool Innovation, Woolmark. And some of the teachers decided, AWET give scholarships to colleges to give to their students to buy their woolen fabric or woolen yarn to make their final collections. So it's a huge help to the students, because they don't have the money at disposal to buy the better fabrics. So they're given, and it's per ratio of students. So the likes of White House Institute, they got 6 scholarships. So 6 students got the scholarship to buy their fabric. So the lecturers decided that they would put another note to them and ask them that they all had to enter their final collection into Fleece to Fashion. That boosted our profile enormously, because their garments are well outside the square. They're bright, they're beautiful, they're vibrant, they're alive. They're just, and we're not going to see it walking down the street in Armidale. So yes, all the fashion colleges, their entries came in for the last couple of years, and they're unbelievably fabulous.
This is it's an interesting thing too, because it now gives the young people, the young fashion people, an opportunity to touch and feel that product.
That's right.
And the way it was headed with all the non-wool products.
That's right, exactly.
They had to just work with that, and they were creating new stuff. But having access to this is going to obviously light the
That's right, exactly. So they've dyed it and they've printed it and they've done all sorts of things, and there's orange and cobalt together and green and brown and you name it. Just made the whole awards, took it to another level, which was just... and this year, of course, there's more coming up. So we've got a lot more colleges after our last meeting in July in Melbourne. Yes, we're going to do the same thing. We're not going to give them a choice. It's compulsory. You're going to enter your collection into the Wool Awards. The big end product for them is the AWI, Woolmark, offer an immersion in Italy or into So this year's winner went to Milan, and for 2 weeks went to woolen mills and to every process step, had the most awesome time. And she's now working for, I believe, Carlos Zampatti. So that was my passion right from the beginning. I wanted a student to take the steps from school to tertiary college to Carlos Zampatti.
Wow. That's, I'm just thinking about from the New England angle. This is
Yes.
you living in New England, creating this environment for these people to now be all over the world. The reputation of the wool, of the designers, of the Fleece to Fashion awards itself, the whole thing. It's a world event.
It is, and we do get entries from New Zealand and all around. So it's yeah. I've had lots of help, but I haven't done it on my own. I can tell you. I don't want to say I'm wonderful. I want to say that there's been lots of people help me. And we've all been volunteers, so we've all worked together and to get to the trustworthy people who you can give a job to, and you don't ever have to check. It's done, and they understand what I was trying to tell them, our vision for the Fleece to Fashion. So
we should also probably talk a little bit about the wool itself from what it is. Like out of that, my figures are a bit old from 2011, but we were exporting 355 million kilograms of wool.
yes,
Which is a lot of wool. That's like $2.5 billion worth of
Yes.
Wool. But what you're talking about is not, you're talking about the top part of that super fine stuff, aren't you?
yes, yep. So some of the garments come through that they're not so made from superfine. They're made from filtered, probably coarser wool. Everything has a place, I guess, a position in the pecking order and the price is also that. So the beautiful superfine wool is the top price, and as you go down the list of quality, it doesn't cost you so much. So from a student's point of view, you wouldn't see them buying a $1,000 a metre piece of fabric, or they probably would stretch it to 100, but hopefully not. So they're using their head and recycling. It is really big at the moment. So off to Vinnie's, because if you buy something that's got a really beautiful skirt that's perhaps even pleated, so you've got twice as much fabric, and use it as part of your collection as well. So the upcycled, recycled, repurposed is really big, sustainable. Again, it's not thrown out. And
That's something I noticed too. I've been in Sydney for the last few years, and walking into a Vinnie's, it's not what it was.
No, it's
It used to be, you can get a second-hand pair of underpants or something. You walk into that place, it is just gobsmacking.
and some of them have labels still on it because the person bought it, they loved it, they didn't ever wear it, didn't fit them, whatever.
But because of its resilience, because it's there, that wool's going to be, it can go through probably 5 or 6 hands.
Absolutely.
And all be handed down in family.
That's right. I've got boxes here of my 41 years of Woolworths, of woolen garments, and I've actually offered them to a few schools this year to cut up and make their entry, because the school section is recycled, upcycled, repurposed.
Yeah.
And I've seen some of the garments that some of the kids have made, cut up blankets and cut up granny's skirt, and it's exciting.
Just coming back to the amount of wool that's being produced here, who's producing that now? Who's doing this?
There's some die-hard wool growers who do have kept that core superfine merino flock. Would be half of what it once was.
Yep.
There's some farmers that it's not paying, it's away. So obviously the younger generation are looking at it thinking, there's easier ways to make my money. I'll go crossbreds, I'll go meat, I'll go cattle, all of those things. So it's sad, but I guess it's a fact of life. We all have to eat. The costs are going up to produce it. And we've got families that we need to be able to feed ourselves.
Yep. I've got a sort of a romantic notion, or I guess it's memories of childhood. In the 70s, we were on a farm
Yep.
Out past Goswick.
Yep.
And the Duttons were one of our
Neighbours,
and they're famous for their
Yes.
for extraordinary wool. But every farm had a line of fine wool.
Yes.
So everyone did it.
That's right. Not so today.
No.
Not
so
so
it's
today.
now.
We do. We still have. Son has kept the core superfine merino flock that many years have arrived here, but he was adamant that he was going to keep that. But it's certainly not. It's not paying its way. But he will keep it because it's passion.
So,
Yeah.
what's that speak to the future with the new farmers coming through with the new? How are we going to? How in your mind? How do you think we're going to keep it going?
I guess the world consumers have demanded that we have sustainability and we have trackability and we have all of these things without thinking that it's actually costing the farmer an awful lot of money to do that. If they're going to demand those things happen, somebody has to pay us.
Yeah.
Somebody has to pay the buyer, the wool buyer, the middleman, the whatever, the mill has to be able to pay the wool grower to produce it.
So, what are we talking about? What sort of things are we talking about? Those costs.
There's ear tags at the moment, $1.30 for each sheep, so there's trackability to that one sheep. At the moment, there's ear tags, so it's traced back to your property if there was something wrong or whatever. They're wanting individual ones at $1.30. So if you're in a big way, it could cost you $90,000, as one wool producer said to us. Damn it, I'm not doing it. I'll get out. It's in a big way. You think, wow, that's...
Okay, so we're not talking about the days of mulesing, where
Mulesing's still an issue.
yeah, I understand that, but
Yep.
I mean that's something that even farmers knew that it was something that they had to get around.
Yes, exactly.
And they did get around different breeds with Showmax and a
That's
variety
right.
of things,
And
but
pain relief and all of those things.
All those things.
Yes.
So there was something put in place, and that's a different kettle of fish.
Fish, definitely.
You're now talking about logistics. You're talking about traceability.
Yes.
You're talking about and. Is there a way around that? Is there a pushback on that, or you just have to get out?
I guess, I don't know. I don't know how they can... Well, I guess if the tags weren't as expensive, perhaps it's not such an issue. But it is a big thing at the moment. Shearing costs are enormous. As we've said in our own wool shed, 2 stands, we're putting in a third one because it'll cut the costs of shearing. It'll be a day or so less shearing than it was with 2 stands.
Yeah.
So,
But you're also, I was talking to your son Ben, he was saying that by putting in I don't get the economics, by putting in a third stand,
Yep.
it is cheaper by like $3 or something a sheep.
So it's not the shearers. The shearers they still have the same amount of sheep. So they're going to get paid whatever it is, the current rate for shearing, because that's the number of sheep they get paid per sheep. It's the shed hands. So if they'll shear them all in with an extra shearer, they'll shear them in probably 2.5 days compared to 3.5, which means the shed hands, which there are 3 or 4 in the shed, we don't have to pay that extra that extra day and a half wages to the shed hands and the presser and the classer, the whole lot. Still the same number of sheep. It's just the people working in the shed that you need will be less.
Farmers who were once upon a time looking after their farm now have to be economists.
Yeah, well, they do. That's right, exactly. Yeah. They're almost accountants, budgeting and crawling to the bank or whatever for approval.
It is a business, but it sounds, I think there's a resilience and a passion in wool growers anyway that will probably push through. And as the world changes, this is something that is flexible.
Yes.
And it can adjust. Fast fashion, not so much, because that's filthing the rivers, doing all that stuff, and it's coming from overseas. This is here.
Here, that's right.
By us.
we are very protective of our soil, our land, our animals, because it is our livelihood. We have to look after them. We have to, and the rivers, the whole lot. We are doing the right thing, but it's hard when others, when it goes offshore, particularly, we have no control over that.
So, with your knowledge, and it's always good to have that hindsight to be able to see forward, can you see any innovation in the production of wool post coming off the sheep? Is there anything that you can see that, you know, how we produce the wool? Are we sending it just the fleece over, or are we sending it in spools? How are we sending it?
There is no, it is all shipped overseas somewhere, because all of what was done in Australia zonks ago have closed. And again, that's our wages too, because they're high. It's cheaper to have it scoured in China, Italy, wherever the wool goes, than to do it here. So I guess that is probably one way we could improve things. We could actually manufacture the fabric here, which we used to and don't any longer. So all of those things would make it cheaper for consumers. Also understand that we're like probably 2% of the world's consumers of wool here in Australia.
Yeah,
there's not enough of us.
No, there aren't, but that's fine. But if we can export, you know, we're talking about blue skies now.
Yeah.
If we can export lock, stock and barrel, or at least to a point where, you know, we could send it to the Italians and say, here's the material, now you can make your suits.
Suits, yes. Would be a dream. Probably won't happen. Their technology's pretty good.
Yeah. But, you know, we're pretty good with technology too.
Exactly, yeah.
Brilliant.
Yep.
So, what's your idea of the fleece to fashion coming up? What's the theme, and what's it?
Well, it is
what
the
are we going to look for?
recycled, sustainability, the whole lot. We've made huge changes to the categories. After a while, it all gets a bit the same. We thought, right, we'll fix you. We'll change it. So yes, there's different categories, lots of prize money to be won, and again, the winner will be a student from one of the fashion schools in Australia. Will win the immersion into wherever next year with Woolmark. It is going to be held on the 16th of November in the main pavilion at the Armidale Showground. And you won't have, by the time we're finished, you won't even recognise the inside of the pavilion. We set up the catwalk. We're, you know, ready for. We're expecting. Well, we're hoping 200 more participants to come that night.
Yeah.
And we put on a fashion parade that's sort of perfect, using local girls and guys as our models.
Brilliant.
Yes.
So again, more for New England.
But that's right. There is more to the Wool Awards than just the fashion competition. It is the models, self-esteem, self-confidence, all of those things that they learn how to walk and how to stand and do all their bits. And yes, you see a different person emerge out the other end. And the guys, they get away with murder, but they're usually shyer. They're much quieter and don't want to push themselves forward in case they're the peer pressure, etc. But in the end, we win.
It's surprising what a cow prod can do to.
Yeah, that's right. I don't want to do that. Well, sorry you are. Yes. Yeah.
It sounds fantastic. This is looking forward to seeing the awards when they're here.
And post awards night as well, I'm actually going to show the school section only at the markets in the mall the Sunday following. Will be the end of November. So just the school section, so that people can see what the students have done.
Be interesting to see how they see things. And I was listening to what you were saying before about that burst of colour that sort of came into it, and people said, "No, the grey and blues, that's fine." But look at this.
This is orange, and it's cobalt blue with it.
Yes. And the school students are not locked into any a specific way of doing things, so they
can go. Yes, exactly.
Wow.
I can do that, and I'll go and buy an orange jumper and a old skirt and cut it off and do this, that, and whatever. Yes.
Sounds sounds promising, Liz. Thank you so much for chatting.
Pleasure.
And this sounds like there's a future. There's certainly a future for the wool industry, which is great.
Yep.
Maybe a few hurdles, but on our way.
There always will be, always has been.
Yeah, some reassuring words there from Liz Foster for the wool industry. We are known worldwide now, I'm talking about the New England, for producing some of the best wool in the world. And we are producing 50% of the wool in the world. So, there is a future in this. It's just, how we approach it. If you enjoy these interviews and you like New England Today and you read the New England Times, press that subscribe button because we really need to know that you're watching this stuff. And I'll go out and find more interesting people to talk to and introduce you to them and see what they have to say about the world and, more importantly, what they have to say about New England. So until next time, see you then.